Good afternoon. This is United Medical ACO. My name is Kemal Erkan. Welcome to our weekly event. I'm here with Sean Donegan. Sean, how are you doing?
Doing good. This Friday the 13th. So far, nothing crazy's happened. So
well, it's not the full moon. That's why. So
right.
Hopefully, nothing bad will happen. So, well, at least we are able to go live. So that means things are okay, right? So we have different topics to discuss today. Once we have our COVID update, we are going to have Richard Sabason is going to join us for the RCM update, and then we have our regular topics. Some of them are updates, some of them are new, and we are going to discuss those items. So before we go too far, we'll just have our COVID update from Sean.
Yeah. So this week with our COVID update, a couple of things we want to point out. First thing would be that the U.S. is now back at that #1 spot, which is actually a bad thing. This is the one time you don't want to be first. But yes, on the charts, we're at the #1 spot for having the most cases each day on average. So the U.S. is just over 84,000 cases now a day. So previous week we were at third. 2 weeks ago we're at fifth, but now we are back in that first place spot. So we are averaging, like I said, over 84,000 cases a day, which may be alarming, but you have to keep in mind that our hospitalizations are not as near what they were with the Omicron when that spiked over the winter. And along with that, our deaths seem to be at a steady rate where they're not increasing as the cases are proportionately.
Sure. And then because of the season that we are in now, like May, the hospitalization numbers, they were overall, they were low anyway. Correct. Even for last year. Summertime it's going to be, but the problem is how we can actually learn from what we went through, and can we actually not repeat some of the mistakes so that when the flu season is back, then we are ready.
Yeah. So now's kind of our time to prepare in advance. That way we can have more of a proactive.
So I don't know if we have that here, but one of the videos that you sent me this morning, what's happening in China. Yeah,
that was actually a video from an Instagram page that we saw where China, with their lockdowns, they had it appeared that they were allowing one member of the family out to get, I guess, supplies, groceries, it seemed like. And the video was actually from the top of a building where you saw this line stretching, which looked like it had at least a few hundred people in this line. So if you're figuring that's one for each family, I guess they're waiting in line to get these supplies, groceries, necessary goods that they need. But yeah, so it was in Shanghai, I believe, that they were having this lockdown where they finally agreed, the government, to let one member from the family out. So it's pretty strict over there. We're hoping that the U.S. does not have to rely on such drastic measures where we're in a severe lockdown again. So again, part of that is definitely taking a proactive approach as opposed to reactive. So trying to get ahead of this, especially if we can use these summer months coming up where the trends tend to be low in the summer months that we've seen the past 2 years. That would be our time to kind of get a head start on it. And then one other thing we want to point out with the COVID numbers is just across the U.S., normally we'd be provided with the amount of people fully vaccinated. So now the CDC on that page is actually allowing us to see, when it comes to boosted, how many people have gotten their first, and now they're actually tracking on how many people have gotten a second. So if we see on the one slide there, it's at 101.5 million have already gotten at least one booster, and then of those, it has 10.5 million haven't received a second. So that's a new data statistic that we can actually keep an eye on, and how many people are getting multiple booster rounds, these vaccinations going forward.
All right. So we are going to have our guest speaker. Well, she's not a guest speaker, but she's one of us, Richa, joining us. I think what we told her to just sign out, and so then, because we didn't know how to fix this order.
It might take a second.
So yeah, she should be joining in a second. Yep. So while we are waiting, so the reason we are doing the RCM, revenue cycle management, we are able to reach out to some of our clients. In some cases, it's our own employees. it's a great platform to share what we are actually, what we have in place, because surprisingly, people are still actually kind of like, when you think that everyone knows everything and everyone's on the same page, and then you look at it and they are really not. So then I'm like, okay, so then maybe just increasing the efficiency, communication efficiency with these types of events, we can reach out to more people, and that's kind of like our goal. And Richa is with us. Richa, how are you doing?
Hey, Kemal, how are you this afternoon?
Good. So I will bring your slide up. Well, we have this new format with the video, as you know. So you are going to kind of walk yourself through and walk us through.
Sure, absolutely. Yep. I know you're going to have the video rolling, so I'll just kind of.
It started. I think it started already. You may have like a 60-second delay there.
Perfect. Okay, sounds good. So, well, I'll just introduce myself really quick as well. My name is Richa Shazbase, and I'm the Director of Billing at United Medical. I've been with the company for 11 years now, working in the revenue cycle management side for the majority of my tenure here. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the practice management system that we use and our check-in and check-out process at the doctor's office side. So just for the folks that don't even, maybe know what a practice management system is, it's essentially our system that we use in our offices and at United Medical to schedule our patients, put in all of our patients' insurance and demographic information, and also do all of our billing out of. So, when you come to the doctor's office, you see the doctor for a visit, and maybe you may have, a procedure done, or you may have something checked out, a lab, whatever it may be, that goes into a system and then it gets processed. And we basically, get your insurance companies to either pay, deny, reject, all of these things, your claims, essentially your medical claims, so that it can be processed through the system and, be taken care of. Most of the time taken care of by your insurance company. The claim can be taken care of by them. So the practice management system that United Medical uses is called SPM, Specialty Practice Management. And we have been using that system from 2006 to present primarily. That is our main system. 90% of our clients are utilizing this system. We've also transitioned a number of clients from other Cerner practice management systems into SPM. Specifically, clients that used to be on a system called Wisdom, which was primarily for podiatry clients, and also a system called PDS. So we've been working closely with Cerner to get a lot of those clients onto SPM because that is our expertise. That's our area of expertise. And we do also have a very cool bi-directional connection to our EMR system, at least for our United Medical clients that are under the United Medical domain. And essentially, we have our own little domain with all of our practices, and they can share information in our EMR, which is very cool. And actually, we also are able to share patient demographic information through our specialty management system now. So if you go to one of our doctors, our PCPs, and then you want to go to one of our specialists, it's actually very cool. We can just search in the system. And if you're already existing in our system, that new practice, that new specialist that you're seeing will easily be able to find you in our system. Kemal, before I move on, is there anything you wanted to ask or add?
So I think one of the reasons, as I was actually, while we were waiting for you, we were just trying to tell people why we are doing these sessions, these presentations for the RCM side. So of course, part of it is we want to be able to reach out to our own people, our employees on the business side, our clients. So yesterday, of course, I won't mention the client name, but when we had that call with the out-of-state client, it was kind of, again, eye-opening for me. how important this communication is, because what happens is, as we know that clients already know everything that we do, that is a false assumption. So because they don't. So yesterday it was kind of like, we've been working with the group for what, 5-6 years now, and they pretended like if we never had these reports or these process explained to them, and that was kind of, I wasn't disappointed because I'm used to that by now, working with being in business. But I think it just reminded me of why we should be doing these types of events, so that our clients and then employees can actually understand and then know better. So
absolutely. I think what we learned from yesterday is communication is the most important part of this business. And if we do not have consistent communication lines open between our organization and the doctors, we will inevitably fail for sure.
yeah.
So the next thing I wanted to kind of talk about is check-in and check-out, which is our topic today. So when you guys, as patients, go to a doctor's office, normally there is somebody to greet you at the front desk, and that person is responsible for a lot of important tasks. One of which is, potentially even before you get there, gathering your insurance information, telling them what your date of birth is, what your social security information is, where you live, what your phone number is, your email address, potentially, if the practice is utilizing a patient portal, which all of our practices we encourage to do so for communication purposes. So this individual at the front that you're talking to is not just sitting there and doing nothing. They're responsible for a lot of key parts of what affects your claims going through the system and your visit being processed for visiting the doctor that day. So they collect that information. They often may give you a sheet and say, has anything changed? They may, also ask you for a copay. If for your insurance, you are required to pay, $10, $15, $20 to see the doctor that day, they'll collect it at the time. If you didn't pay your previous bills, they may mention to you, hey, you have a bill from the past. Do you think you can pay a portion of it or all of it? So these are all very important parts of the, practice flow. And our practice management system is set up very, very user-friendly to help those folks kind of go through that process and make sure it's easy for both the patient and them to go ahead and process all of that very pertinent information. Yep. So, and then also that same person, or maybe somebody else, when you're leaving the office, is doing something called checkout. So this person is very likely giving you labs that you may have to get done, or tests that you may have to go get done that your doctor has recommended. They're also maybe setting you up for your next appointment. And they may also be giving you any data that you may need to, triage you to a different place, or, whatever your doctor has recommended. And also that person is often responsible for your claim that day. And when I say your claim, like I said, when you come in for a visit, you are going to have a code attached to that day for the services that you had, and that's going to be billed out to your insurance. So that individual is usually responsible for things like putting in your correct diagnosis, or at least checking what the doctor has put in and making sure that it's valid, adding any billing related modifiers or codes or information that is needed for that particular day. They're essentially there to make sure everything on your visit is valid and correct before it gets to us at United Medical. And once we get that information here, we essentially take it, we scrub it one more time, we make sure it's all good to go, and we send it out to something called a clearinghouse. Our clearinghouse partner is TriZetto, and they process all of our medical claims for us. And what they essentially do is they make sure, again, on another level, that all of your information is correct and it can go out to the insurance company. So once it's out to the insurance, we get it back and we have a whole process, which Kemal, I can go through next unless we want to stop here for a second.
We can go through this.
Perfect. So yeah, so once your claim is out the door from our clearinghouse and it gets to the insurance company is going to review the information we sent them and they're going to process it. And they're going to say, okay, we've got the patient's name, the patient's ID number, their diagnosis code, anything that's related to that service you had that particular day. They're either going to pay it or they're going to deny it. If they happen to deny it, we get that information back in our system. We get it back in the clearinghouse, and we also get it back in a system called Reimbursement Manager, in which we work our denials. So perhaps it may say something like, incorrect insurance ID, or incorrect, or it would say incorrect ID relation to, something along those lines. And when I say relation to, maybe it's a child, and the claim has something to do with their parent, and it hasn't been connected properly. So we look at that denial, we fix it in our accounts receivable department, and we go ahead and shoot it back out to the insurance to be processed. And that process would continue, a few times if necessary, especially if there are claims that are more complex. Maybe something where you had a surgery where your authorization was missing, or something is wrong with your diagnosis code. So there's a lot of back and forth between the insurance company and our organization to make sure that the services you had that day get paid and our doctors receive that money, and you particularly don't get the bill, right? Our goal is also to make sure that everything is being processed correctly so our patients are not billed erroneously. Because we know that that's a lot of stress on patients to receive bills. They don't know what to do, especially if they're elderly patients who are not familiar with this process. So our goal at United Medical is always to process the claims as clean and efficiently as possible so that our patients can avoid receiving bills that are not necessary and that our doctors get paid. So that's essentially the process that we go through. The only other item to mention is the majority of our claims processing is electronic, the scenario I just described. However, we do have some insurances that require us to mail items via the snail mail, old mail process. So we do print out claims sometimes, and we often send them out to the insurances that require that. And that process is also the same. The only difference is it often takes much longer, and the correspondence we receive from those companies has to come through the mail. The mail has to be sorted, it has to get to our desks, and then we would review it, fix it, and get it reprocessed again. So that's essentially the process in a nutshell.
Well, I think it's one of the most important part of the medical offices because, as I always say, garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't get good information, good data, clean data, then what we are going to process is not going to be clean. So that is one of the reasons that we also wanted to discuss this at this in this format. Also, understanding when we are providing these services, we are not like a third-party billing company because we use the same software, same system, real time in these offices. So whatever we see is what they see, the clients see. Therefore, there's no unnecessary communication delays because we are able to show everything that we are doing, and then we can also see everything that they are doing in the offices. So
absolutely, we create notes, right, in the system and alerts that we can communicate back to each other directly in the system. So that front desk staff person can see all of the notes that we're putting in. And if they happen to put in a note, we'll be able to see that as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Richard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I don't know, Sean, did you have any questions for?
No questions. I just want to hit again. I know Richard brought up that communications, kind of one of the pillars, and I think she kind of just demonstrated and laid that out on how this process, like you're saying, with garbage in, garbage out, it's kind of the first step from that very moment the patient's checked in, and how collecting the sufficient information is going to be such a crucial step down the road with the rest of our what our team does here in the office to make it the most efficient process as possible. So I would definitely agree on what she said with the communication.
Yesterday, though, the client got upset when I said garbage in, garbage out. So he's like, "Well, I thought you were cleaning the garbage, but that's not until we process the garbage." So it's not like we know right away. So we need to. This is the time of getting this information is at the time of the service. In some cases, even prior to the day or two before the visit. And otherwise, we do spend even more time to fix it, not just from the billing side, but from the client side, because they would lose money. And in some cases, patients are upset because they don't have the right information. So we don't want to upset anyone, and we want to do our job at the best level that we can. So, Richard, thank you so much for joining us. We'll continue with our other topics.
Sounds good, Kemal. I'll be watching you guys. Thank you for having me this afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So, Sean, our next is our economic updates, right? So, it's a little bit dark here. Like, okay. Are we doing the global current events first?
Yeah. So we can transition on over to the current events, kind of what's happening. Not so much financially, but kind of just the events on what we're seeing around the world. We do have a few slides here, which looks like they are up and running now.
So this very picture that people are seeing right now, this is Jill Biden.
Jill Biden visiting the troops in Romania. She's serving food, and they're going to include a visit with the Ukrainian refugees.
I may get in trouble with what I'm about to say, but it's okay. So I'm used to getting in trouble. I did support Biden family in the last several years. Bo Biden, Joe Biden's late son, I think he was one of the reasons that I was supporting the family. And because he's the Delaware guy, so then we are kind of like automatically, by default, we were doing it. There are times that I regret, and this is one of those. I didn't support him for the last election, but I didn't support the other side either. So I was just being my independent mind. But I think when I saw Jill Biden in Ukraine, I don't know if Dr. Erkan is watching right now, but if he's not, then he's going to watch probably later. He and we did so much work to bring the Tigray issue out in public. And our own Senator Chris Coons, actually, he did put a lot of time and effort, but these people, they just died like on their own. We just left them alone. And then no one was serving food for these kids. No one was serving food for or giving any weapons for these soldiers who are being destroyed. Like they were just trying to protect their own country, their own region. And it's like this hypocrisy of Western world sometimes is just disappointing. And yes, it's a great picture, her with her nice hair, and then just probably paid $500 for that hair. It's a great picture. She was serving food in Ukraine. So, like, that's shame. That's a shame. You know what? If I get in trouble, I get in trouble. But I believe that it is just shameful. Because if I saw that in Tigray, and then, like, I'm not from Tigray, I'm not from Ethiopia. So if I saw this type of support and this type of interest, because people are dying, so those are also people, and this just happened, and they're still dying. But it's also like it's not fixed yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is if you think of the duration, this is, what was it, late February when this whole invasion started with Russia into Ukraine, so it's only a few months now, and the issues of what's going on in Tigray has been, much significantly longer, and the fact that in only a few months she's already out there, and I think we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier sessions ago with how the media wants to focus on European affairs, and if an issue is impacting this particular group, it's more relevant as opposed to a different group. And this is a really, blatant example of, just as many, if not more people are dying in this part of the world. Why is that not deserving of the same level of attention that you're easily giving to. So
I did 4 live sessions with Dr. Erkan. We did reach out to more than 2 million people with our limited time and resources. But what she's able to, do you hear some background noise?
a little bit. Some chatter.
Yeah, Anna, if you are in the front, like we are getting some background noise, so it needs to stop, please. Thank you. So if if we were able to do that and then not to stop what was happening, and then now, looking at this double standards, and now, like, why did she even fly there? Like, who do we have there? We don't have borders with Ukraine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So now, are we doing the George Soros part in here in this video or the other video?
That is in the other video.
Other video, so we'll get to that because I do have some other updates. So we are hoping that while we are supporting others, we also support for those people who are really victims of victims of the world and the cruelty. And we are hoping that maybe we can get some attention. Even if I get in trouble, I'm fine. So, but I just want this to bring some spotlight to the other issue. I
think someone might be on the speakerphone.
I think someone's on the speakerphone. You are right. And it's so sort of boundary, but if you can, maybe someone in Susan's office on speakerphone, and then we are getting a lot of background noise. I mean, I'm not a news anchor, so I don't know everything that I'm talking. So this is kind of like just on the spot talk. So if I'm going to get in trouble, I want to make sure that I have my full focus.
Loud and clear, right? I think what he was saying was, right.
So, all right. Now, what do we have here?
Yeah, so with our other slides, with this particular section, we have a couple of different, again, global events that are going on. So one of those that we did mention was there was the recent healthcare debate on the abortion, which is kind of, we want to keep our eye on that and see, because I don't think it was officially overturned, but it said it could be. So that's something that's kind of still maybe developing. That's resulting in a lot of, protests and controversy and kind of debates there. So we're trying to keep our eye on that as one of the events going on. Another one was Finland that has applied to join NATO, and they are in that process now, which I think we're talking about the war. It's going to be pretty important to see how sides are kind of being chosen, and things are definitely, like you said, developing and escalating. So it's kind of falling into place.
So, like, again, like the reason we are talking about the Finland situation to joining NATO, and maybe some others are going to come after that. It's not because this is a news channel. It's because it's affecting what we are doing. Because that war is going to escalate and escalate. It's out of control. So everything that I see is a red flag, and I think maybe some power sources, power centers, they are kind of like shifting, and that's what we are seeing. Yeah. Because again, like you and I, we've been talking about this for a while. What's happening in Sri Lanka is another thing that no one knew what was happening until we were just updating stuff. And then I was not getting those updates from our regular news media.
No, yeah, a lot of these things, it's you as the citizen, you don't have to go out of your way. If you want to know about this, you're going to have to put in the work. The media is not going to bring it to you on headlines. Here's what's happening, here's why it's happening. Like us as the consumer of this information, we're going to have to go out of our way to research. We're going to have to read these lengthy articles, and a lot of it kind of makes you wonder what if there's underlying interests in some of these events going on, who the other key players are who the media may not want to necessarily name or put the spotlight on. You know, if there's some underlying interests of key groups and other nations and players. So, like you're saying, a lot of this stuff, the media is
so
by
now
choice.
let's take that to the next level. So what's happening in Sri Lanka started small. It was a couple of months ago, and then now there's a huge crisis, and it all started with the lack of supplies, the financial issues, not having enough resources, and now there's a blackout, power blackouts, and then shortage of basic foods, and everything is out of control. Now, one of my former employees, and I did message her, and then she came back to me. Her dad used to be the president of Sri Lanka maybe more than 10 years ago. And immediately I was worried about what was happening with her family.
Right.
Now she's in Australia for a while. So, and when she texted me back yesterday, she was saying that she was flying back home because she didn't know what was happening back home, being Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
And you can tell how this is affecting people's lives, and if this war is going to have a big cost for our country and for humanity. So at the end of the day, so
yeah, I mean that's another thing too, where I know in the one article on that one slide, you know, it's saying that there's tens of thousands of people have already died, you know, from their civil wars they had in the past, and this ongoing issue now with the supply chain, food shortages, and again these underlying interests. You know that China invested a lot in their infrastructure there, so it's interesting on what the media wants to make easily available and what you kind of have to go out of your way. But again, these are definitely developing issues that could definitely exponentially spiral out of control way further.
And like this, I don't know if people are able to see this picture clearly. Are you able to see it?
I can see, yeah.
Yeah, so the problem is we have too many monitors here. So
there's a lot
there's a delay on the YouTube on that side. So I'm thinking that it's not there, but it is there. Yeah. So the person who's in this picture is the ambassador, Russian ambassador in Poland. And he wasn't attacked. He was someone attacked him with
that's
paint,
right? Actually fine, because when you initially showed me this, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this man's even walking if he's losing that much blood. But no, it's actually just a red liquid, which I'm assuming is resembling blood from the protesters that they're splashing it on him. Obviously with Russia's invasion and the loss of life that's already occurred, and that if a resolution isn't arrived at soon, could be way worse. And another article I saw too is just how many millions of people just being displaced. The refugees that when it was first happening, going into the neighboring countries. Obviously Poland. That's where this was in Warsaw. That these protesters, and obviously the people are not happy with what Russia's doing. So.
Well, I mean, I think everyone is going through. Everyone has their own mistakes on this, and I think Russia, as much as I don't like the person there, but I don't think he just did it for fun. So he didn't have any choice.
Yeah. So
I mean, just imagine, Sean, we don't have a border. We have two huge oceans between us. Mm-hmm. Actually, I maybe like some maybe smart asses just saying that no, we do have a border in Alaska, in the north. Okay, yeah. So I can only now picture some of my people like, no, he didn't know, like, yes, that border doesn't count. So I'm talking about like any
the
threat.
Continental US.
Yeah. So, but then, our first lady is there, our billions of dollars are there. Like, we don't have this money.
No, yeah, that's another thing in the news too. There's a lot of people upset with the fact that I think it was roughly 40 billion that we sent in aid to Ukraine, and there's issues that clearly need to be resolved within the U.S. So the fact that we're, sending this aid to outside countries as opposed to fixing internal issues, it has a lot of people upset.
And these are all planned events, in my opinion. So I do want to mention one of the things that when Tigray issue came up, and I was sharing this one with you yesterday, and you saw some of the emails. So there is a great researcher, TV programmer, Banu Avar. She's amazing. She did a lot of good programs, and then she can actually really show everything from the objectiveness of okay, what's good for that society versus what's good for everyone, because nothing is going to be good for everyone. Right? Those regional stuff are important.
Of course.
So what she told me with the Tigray, she's like, okay, well, go to this article. It's a web page available to a website available to everyone. So it's not like there's some secret website. So then she said,
no password required. Yeah.
No password required. She's like, read what these guys did right. So in 2016, they already knew what potential issues were going to happen.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
They kind of narrowed it down, and then they want people to pick one of those. And so it's 16 to 2020. That means in 4 years, that's where we got. And I think this one, this issue, what's happening in Ukraine today, which is not a Ukraine issue, this is like in the middle of the world. So the country that I was born is right there, is Turkey, and my whole family lives there. And then I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So although my dad is at the beach house, but I'm so concerned. So with him being 81 and then driving himself, I'm actually so proud of him. So the thing is, when people like George Soros, when they planted certain things in these countries, then you can't just, you can't help but wonder, this was already there. It was going to happen. So it's not some coincidence.
Years in the making.
So the Orange Revolution. So this is again one of the other things that I had to go back and watch Mrs. Avar's programs with what she did in Ukraine, in Russia at that time. This is 2006 timeframe. It all started back then. We knew that this was going to get to some point. We were going to get to this level at some point. Now this is becoming more like a global issue. It's not just something that is happening in one region. So now, Sean, what motivates George Soros?
Well, that's the thing too. Like as I was touching on earlier, with these underlying interests, I think even one of the recent articles I had there was he donated, I want to say $1 million to the Democratic.
It was 1 million, right?
Yeah, 1 million. Yeah. So in Georgia, Democratic person that's hopefully running for office.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like these underlying.
So actually, let's just kind of like highlight this. So what Sean is saying, that this guy, his foundation, donated 1 million for some political candidate in Georgia, right?
In the state of Georgia, yeah.
So this happens. So he was able to put that in the super PAC, I guess. So because personally you cannot give that much money.
No, yeah.
So someone who got in trouble for giving $250 apparently to 6 of my people, I was like investigated, and then there's $1 million can be given to this political party, but that's not the only one.
No.
So you know how much he spent for John Kerry's campaign back in like.
I want to know. Can I count that high?
Just yes. $20 on the table.
$20 on the table. All right. Well, price is right. I want to go over. So I will say
24 million.
I was going to say 20. Like
24 million in 2004 presidential bid. Soros lamented the fact that he was unable to materialize the motive, because the guy didn't win.
Yeah.
So after spending all that money, but 24 million. So it is legal in this country to give money apparently to the political parties. So you just need to do it in the right way. So now I think he makes money from these crises that he's creating.
Well, that's what we're saying too. There has to be there's like a risk and reward to everything. So we think about these from a business standpoints. No one's going to go out of their way to just donate 24 million or 1 million here if there's no potential benefit down the line. So who in their right mind would just donate, free will just because they have it.
Well, if they have big
there
return.
there must be something down the line that he sees potential of a greater upside at the very end, in return for him, not only his time and money, but just the effort and interest. So
Absolutely. So this is the thing that's been done, and this happened in Turkey. I mean, he supported people in Turkey, and now someone may say, well, it's open society, it's like, whatever. But if you are really just aiming to take the structure, the government down, anything that's in that format, in that fashion is illegal.
Yeah.
So, and that's why he was actually kicked out of US, I believe. Or he kind of left because he knew that he was going to be kicked out, something like that. So, and then there are a lot of false information there too, and that's why we are trying to be careful. But when I went back to some of the videos that Banwar made, and then now just looking at today's situation, then hearing same names, same actors, and then is this something that was already planted? And absolutely, I think that's what it is. Now, from the financial side, one of the things that we do want to remind people, and I know it sounds like we're just giving bad news, but that's what's available today. The national debt is about 30 trillion, 444 billion.
As of the screenshot we had there had it at looks like 30 trillion 445 probably by now. So this number in 2019, end of 2019, was at 20 trillion. Yeah. So this is like more than 50% increase, and we don't have this money, guys. So anyone who's watching, so we as United States don't have this money. So we are spending more than what we have, and this is going to impact us. So preparation is a good thing, and this preparation does not require you to just have stocking like food, and like I'm just saying that mentally, you have to, financially, you have to, just so that you know what's coming. I think I personally do see some trouble coming. Do you remember that text with the screen shot that I showed you the other day? One of my friends who also lives in the US, what he said, but I made it. I tweeted something. So, and then your prediction was right.
And then he's like, well, no, like the things are going to be so great. So you're just not. I'm like, well, I'm not making predictions based on some feelings. I'm just making predictions based on numbers. Yeah. So, and then now today they are saying that, oh, well, you were right. You were right is not a good thing that we want to hear. We want people to prepare. So anything else we want to cover here?
Yes, I mean, the one thing you're saying, the numbers don't lie. You're making these predictions and things like that based on a feeling. It's literally just look at the data, look at historical trends and what kind of happens, and these indicators that we're seeing kind of result in us with the told you so type thing where, we kind of said many sessions ago, a recession, it's developing, it's going to happen sooner or later. So I think the market was down to like 15 or 12% or something recently. I mean, today it was back up, kind of rebounding. But
so what happened to Bitcoin? Like Bitcoin is like,
well, that's the thing too. They said all the cryptos,
I'm still in it though. Like I think it's out.
Okay, going down with the ship.
Oh my God. So it's like down.
Yeah, that was a big thing. The entire, not necessarily just Bitcoin, but all the cryptos kind of got hit.
It's 29,746.
Yeah.
So this is why you have to kind of stick to what you know. You don't want to get into like, it's interesting with this crypto money. Apparently, like Turkey is in the top 5 in the world. So people investing. And then when I was reading this article the other day, and then they're saying that, well, I think people just want to make easy money.
Well, yeah, that was the thing too. I think it was one of the ones with Elon where it was, the people today want to just get paid for basically doing nothing. It's like the highest reward with the lowest amount of like effort or
Well, he was actually, let's go to Elon. So what he was saying is, what he was saying is that Americans are not willing to work harder, and Chinese are working much harder. And actually, it even goes further than that. And this was on his tweet. It will be, well, we have a couple of important slides here, but what he's saying is that by 2030, China can double the U.S. total.
Saying, I mean, even from years ago, I think people were saying that China is, a superpower, surpassing the U.S. Not only surpassing, but like you're saying, almost doubling. Like, that's super alarming, I think, as like you're saying, with the economy as a whole, how much we outsource things from China. On our products.
Well, I mean, bottom line is we have to work. So if anyone who's watching us, if maybe we can impact a couple people, I'm okay with that. But unless you work really hard, nothing happens. Like there is no such thing called coincidence. There's always 99% is the hard work. So this life, work balance, that's just bullshit. Like there's no, like I never had that balance in my life. I worked 14 to 18 hours a day. So it's nonstop. And people just want to have what we have financially as our outcome today, but they don't want to put the work that we have put in for this. So, and then that's what actually Elon was saying. I think he's a little bit braver than I am. So I thought I was more brave. But he puts certain things. We are trying to be politically correct in many cases because we're in healthcare. But the reality is we have to work. Otherwise, we're going to be behind. Right?
In anything, across any domain, if you're not going to put in the effort, there's not going to be an outcome. Or if there is, it's going to be a lot, crummier than what you're hoping for. So you can't rely on hopes and dreams as opposed to actual hard work.
So one thing that we know about Elon Musk with the Twitter deal, actually, we were going to cover some other stuff with that, but the part that actually is happening now, he's holding, he's on hold with this process of purchase because he wants to verify the fake. This time they didn't say about after I practiced about. They said fake users. He want to make sure that that's less than 5%. So that actually makes. Let me just bring this slide again.
Yeah. As you're bringing that up, I can just touch on that's one of the topics you're thinking about again with the media. Back to the T-grade, issue of what information are people being presented with, and if you want to take that into this context of Twitter is. With these bot accounts, if there's a user that has, 80 million followers, people are going to view that as more credible as opposed to someone who has 68 followers. The way people perceive information on what's being presented to them. So
in the video, we have our Twitter accounts side by side.
Not that my information is believable.
But let's just play that again. So then.
Yeah. So I actually found my account. Back from August of 2012.
So it's coming up now so that you can check. So if you pay attention to the video, so then you'll see how many followers Sean has versus how many followers I have. Now here's the thing. The reason we did this is because we want to show, and it's also when I was explaining to you why these influence of these accounts are important, because if someone has all these fake accounts, then if I tweet something versus if you tweet something, mine is going to be more credible because I have more activity and I have more followers, right?
Yeah, strength in numbers. People assume, this many million of people are already listening to what this person has to say on the regular. Okay, it must be accurate. Yeah,
that's the danger that now he wants to verify this 5% fake account rate because I think he may back out from this one just because if they come back and then they said it's like 30%, that's not going to be worth 43 billion anymore.
Right.
So maybe he got scared. Who knows? But I think it already made some damage in overall, like not damage, but it made some impact. So then people are more aware of those issues.
Yeah. People You saw some of the immediate reactions, even with, like we're saying, George Soros, Clinton, and Obama. They're on the anti-Musk campaign with the whole Twitter issue.
Yeah, that's what they use.
Yeah.
You take something and, like, in fact, this week when I was looking at these certain different news, one of the things that maybe we need to create accounts, because it's possible. So
people start believing what I say.
But that is what's the reality is. So not everything that you see is real. So we need to be able to separate those. That means we have to pay attention and we have to know what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's actually a important skill that a lot of people have to kind of develop. A lot of it might just be through experience, but being able to, evaluate information that you're presented with, deem, is it credible? Is this a reliable source? And kind of question some of the things that may just be easily fed to you initially, and just double check and make sure that it is in fact.
So
accurate.
Just don't believe everything you see.
No, especially if it's repetitively fed in your face a bunch, you might want to get a little suspicious on that. Why are you trying to convince me?
Yeah.
Not like we're doing a conspiracy here, but just anything. This isn't just political. There's anything.
I mean, even with some of the news, we don't share them just because we don't know if it's real.
Yeah.
The videos that we see, like that, what you sent me from China. Like,
yeah, it's so easy. I mean, a lot of the videos.
It may not be real, right?
Yeah, and then people look into it and say, "Oh, this video is from 2007," something like that, where people are trying to use information and kind of mold it a certain way to fit some type of story they're trying to present. So.
Well, so we are running out of time, and next week we have one of our state senators, Senator Kyle Gay. She's going to be with us, and we have our clinical update. So on the clinical update, I did have some prep for the Parkinson's disease, the one that we were talking. Yeah. Next week, maybe we can actually get into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So I have a little bit of slides, but there may actually be more information that's come out next week or so.
Yeah, just to make sure that people understand why we are discussing it, and there are some new updates because there's this new development that actually is going to help. One of the things with the Parkinson's disease, each patient is unique in their own sense, in their own way. So then they couldn't really figure out. And I have a lot of experience with Parkinson's disease. I lived with someone who had Parkinson's disease for 2 years, 20 months. So that was one of my initial tasks when I moved here, when you were born 23 years ago. So, well, all right. Well, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we can, I'm hoping that we can actually provide some important updates and make sure that people do understand what's coming to their way, and then also some of the other good updates that we have. Hopefully we can talk more fun stuff next time.
Definitely.
And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.